call with 39 countries the other day with all of our distributor body. This is all things I used to have to go on a plane and get a strip search for, that I'm able to do it in my living room. So I just think it's a game changer, and we'll bring it up on the thing. But the closeness I felt with my team, somebody asked me, what have I learned from this? I said, I learned I was a sucky owner. I'm the leader of Paul Mitchell, but I wasn't doing as well with my own team. But through Zoom and other access points, I'm in their living rooms. I feel like I'm closer. They feel my leadership. They know I'm going to change the rules on them, not governed by me, but just governed by situation. So I feel very confident to get back to business, almost chomping at the bit, because kind of like the virus hits unhealthy people, there's a lot of unhealthy business out there. And for some people, myself included, in certain stores, I have a chance to change that. And I just love having the pause. I needed the pause. And just for our company trying to go digital, we've been talking about it for 3 years, never really were accomplishing it. Now we have no choice. I mean, there will be no trade shows in my mind moving forward. Gathering paper, these are all things there's nothing on my calendar for 2 years. So I have no staff. I currently have no salons open. I have no platform artist job, so these are things that are changing. But the communication part, even when this is over, we're still going to have meetings. We had such resistance to meetings so many times. So we had to bribe them with bagels and shit. The reality here, I can do these in their living room, so they don't have to come to work early, fight traffic. And because of that, we're getting great attendance on things. We've been using something, I think I stole it from the school, Ready, Set, Go, to get them ready for it, which I think is really where we're at now. And, some of the logistics, but again, I want to talk about the optics of the business. We've done some astounding things moving forward. I think are very translatable. And, like a phone system we have called Weave, and it does curbside waiting already. It was built from the medical industry, and we started buying it. When did we get into it?
October, November.
And we had no idea what we were getting into. We didn't know we were coming into a pandemic, but luckily, because they're from the medical world, and then they seen an interview I did with Matt Beck, and they called us up and said, "Oh my God, you are a spokesman for our company." But it also has all the medical procedures that you would see at a dental office or whatever else. So they've really been helping us, as well as other people. Salons in our neighborhood, obviously apples to apples businesses are very helpful to one another. So as I say, we got a little bit of content on it. And, for some of your viewers and stuff, obviously go into some of the Paul Mitchell sites, because this is what we're delivering every day. Mary and I just did a reservation thing. And it's kind of imagine your business from a whole new way, from that client stepping up to the door. It's almost like a nightclub trying to get in. There's, you're kind of moving outside your business to anticipate people, because you don't want them in the business if they don't qualify. So there's a lot of little safety measures that seem extensive, but again, it's that optics. What does the client perceive? And when I see people in businesses without gloves on, without a mask on, walking on the street, I get very upset because I think they're just missing the point of this. So as a salon, these are the new rules moving forward, and I think they're very exciting. So to kind of move with.
Yeah,
I love it.
Let's go ahead and get.
Let's
go ahead.
You're doing everything right now.
I wasn't doing it.
No, so you're.
Sean's gonna hit record here in a minute, and we'll go ahead and get started. And those of you who have any questions, go ahead and put it into the chat box. And Sean, take it away.
Yeah, so I hit record the minute Robert started talking, because we definitely want to capture every single thing that Robert and Mary are gonna share with us. And it's really awesome, and thank you both for coming on board and saying yes to this. Obviously, Robert, you're the global artistic director of Paul Mitchell. You're the owner of Robert Cromeans Salon and Walkin Salons, and Mary's by your side through it all, and she's a platform artist for Paul Mitchell. And it's just so your messages that you've been putting out there have been so awesome and amazing, and offering that hope and the reality that we just had to bring you with us today. So welcome, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
I'll go on a personal note first. If you're going to be quarantined with somebody, you better be in love. This is every night is date night. The other night she put on a beautiful dress. Sometimes I get the Tom Ford shoes, not me, her. So this is like the honeymoon we couldn't get because we were so busy before, because we got married last year and we never really took an official honeymoon. And to be quite honest, this has been great. I also think that this has helped my wife establish ownership of our salons, because when you show that leadership, which is so critical right now, People are really starting to believe in the company more, believe in us, have a lot of confidence in what we're doing on their behalf. And also they hear what we're doing to the industry and the voice we have. So I think there's a real shift in our company from our salon point of view that is very interesting, and I'm very excited about it. So it makes a big difference. But I want to keep my wife involved today because she has a lot of great content, because we kind of do different things in the company, and as we kind of get into it a bit. But, you know, one of the analogies that the people, I just came off a call with a pandemic expert, and kind of like the airports have different levels of security. One of the analogies I stuck with from the beginning of this was the world is at a red light waiting to turn green. And the other term that we're really using is ready, set, go. And what I love about that, if you've ever been at a red light and you're getting a little impatient, it's not turning quick enough, and then suddenly you do the terrible thing, you drift to your phone, or for females out there, you lift to your lipstick, oh, let me get a little mascara on while we're waiting. And then the guy behind you pumps the horn, which really meaning you're not ready. So I think this is a great set point, getting ready to go before that light turns green. And the interpretation and the different business models, I think most people have to interpret this based on your business. If you're a freelance hairdresser, you got to reinterpret it. You know, years ago, Tina, I did some stuff with the military, and I took in concepts like color bar, wash house, take home. And somebody said to me when I was going in to go to the military, it's kind of government, they're not going to listen to you. They reinterpreted my system. So color bar became color ops, and take home became provisions. And what I'm saying is up to everybody listening to this is how you interpret it. Sure, if you got like ideas that we're using, feel free to use them. That's probably where I got it. I stole it from somebody. If you take from lots of people, it's called research. So feel free to research from Mary and I, as well as other individuals in the industry, because I think that's where my knowledge is coming from, is talking to like-minded people all over the country that are setting new standards, a kind of gold standard, if you will, of what a business can be like in tomorrow's world. And I got a great question on Matt Beck's call last week. Well, what if we find a cure? What if we have a vaccine? Aren't these measures a little radical? Well, if we put these measures in play and this happens again, we won't have to close. So it's kind of like whatever State Board did to us years ago. I don't know when they officially started, but and I knew from seminars we used to do in the 80s, 90s, 2000s, number one reason a client leaves the salon is it's unclean. And how many of us found out through our cleaning out our houses how unclean they were? I went into my salons the other day before we were working on the revisualization of it, and I'm like, oh my God, this place is terrible. So I just think this is the new standard we got to approach, and the reason for it being so critical that we get it in now, it'll protect us in the future, so that if this happens again in the flu season, we'll actually have things in place that guarantee we can keep our businesses running. Because the conflict in the industry right now is really kind of crazy. The opinions, the judgment, you know, there's some people really going out in limbs saying certain things, you know, whether it's don't go back to work or back to work, you know, I'm not going to share how I feel about that. I just think, you know, we want to get back to business, and, you know, that's a true fact of it. But what are we going to do meantime? And this is the time where we've got to restructure our business. That could be payroll. It could be the handbook, because technically I have no employees. They're all going to have to start over. We're going to do an interview again. I'm going to record this one, Tina. So when they tell me stuff they're prepared to do, I'm going to get it in writing, because sometimes people forget what they said when they jumped on board. So it's a reassessment. It's also a time, and this goes out to our schools, future pros. We are hiring. We are looking to increase our staffing. So we're putting wow ads together. One I'm running that I love, I got from a coach friend of mine. Are you sick of playing musical chairs? Meaning we are going to recruit through this time, because many salons are being disheveled. Some are closing. Some people are not coming back to the workforce in the same way. So I'm just saying, this is not just an open opportunity to go back to what we were. It's an opportunity to go back to what we dreamed of being the day that we decided to open up salons. And I've had some creative ideas like Wash House, Color Bar. Most of those, Sean, came out of my head 25 years ago. So the most creative I ever was when I opened the store and I visualized it. I feel that same creativity coming through me now that is really, really critical to it, you know. So it's definitely time to be creative and not with scissors. How can you reconceive your business, and how can you realign your team to what it is we're trying to do? And, you know, just go to one thing here, the stacking and racking, which we inherited as an industry. Roller sets used to be the norm. And when our mothers would go, they would go weekly. What a frequency of visit. And hairdressers in those days sometimes did 17, 18 guests a day. They roller set a few, put them under the dryer, combed out a few. They had incredible pace. And then Vidal came along and changed that pace. but an average hairdresser does not perform. An average service ratio of an average hairdresser in America is 1.2 services per guest. That's why you need 7 in a day. So if you actually look at fewer clients, more meaning hair traffic control, opening earlier, opening later, having available staff, the right amount of people every single day, I think the business model is going to improve because of this. And again, having more quality time with each guest. I've seen people put on a color that processes for 40 minutes and they take off, go into the hiding room, look at their phones. You should be spending quality time with a guest. And to me, I think we've been ditching and running too long. And I just think this is a great reset to the business and the industry that could change it, just like Vidal changed our value many, many years ago. So that's what excites me as a business leader and for my own organization, the Robert Cromeans Salon. And just one little point, Walkin is now dead because a walk-in salon is not a good idea right now.
Right.
So we are changing the names of those businesses. You know, I was working with a chain salon and, you know, the name of their salon was something to do with haircuts. And they said, we want to sell more color. I said, well, which dummy called it haircut store? You know, so if you want to sell color, you should have called it color and haircuts. So we're kind of going through a rebranding in our business because we don't really want walk-ins. You're free to call ahead, but there's protocols you have to do. One is a guest release, just like a model release that we'd use, and all the different ways that we're protecting them. So I think there's a lot of things to come out of this, that there's a new protocol for everything we're doing in business that has to be educated to our salons. It's not something that we have a conversation when they're in the salon. It has to be done way in advance. So that's a big thing there.
So let's talk about this real quick, because that's the biggest thing I keep seeing on platforms that I'm speaking on is many of the salons are feeling like they're forced to raise their service prices, but you're looking at it a different way that will actually make more money because we're going to do more services per guest. But what's your thought process through this? Because I know Sean and I are working on our break-even numbers and to see where our stylists are going to be at when they get started back to work.
Well, most people, when you build a salon, you're using every square foot to create and generate dollars. So that's one thing we'd have to plan in there. Now, it all depends where you're at. And I'll talk about 2 situations I have as an owner. I've got one, which is a kind of younger brand, formerly known as Walkin. We're calling it Robert Cromeans at the Beach. And actually, we set the prices the same way, but they're not quite the performers that my experienced guys are. So the reality in some salons, if you're a $15 haircut store, and you're bringing in these protocols like a mask, a visor, sanitation and things, it's going to cost you more to do business. And I'm going to suggest that you increase a price. So let's just say your business reduced by 30%. I would increase the price by 30% to compensate. If I've got a salon, like I know my numbers pretty well, if I see my guys are performing at 1.2, 1.3, the increase isn't going to come by what I add on to the ticket. It's going to come by you doing your job. Just as simple as that. Drop-off rate in our industry is astounding. For every client that comes in, we lose out of 10 to 4, sometimes 6 clients do not return. That is not an indicator that's calling growth. So what I would suggest to people is to understand, if you could keep and retain every guest you touch, that's when you get a new guest you're building. Most people's new guest count is just compensating for the ones they lost. And that is a fact of the industry. In my company, I work with John Harms from Millennium. I have access to the data points of an industry. So let's look at what would the new world be in an hour appointment where you used to think you'd cut hair in 45, stacking and packing, never known a client's name, never making a take-home recommendation, never rebooking. Let's play with better indicators. So now I've got an hour. I'm going to just start off like this, Tina. We're going to take a before shot of Tina. We're going to do a great consultation, not one time, every single time. We're going to give you the experience of whatever service you've desired. We're going to include the take-home experience I call teaching artistry, showing you how to do it, getting you involved. And at the end, we're going to close it out with a beautiful take-home sale. A perfect appointment would look like that, and that's what we got to get to. So if that fewer clients, more meaning is really what I'm after. So in that case, if my stylist goes from a 1.2 ratio, which is a reflective of the average ticket, whatever you charge. So if you're a $10 haircut and a $10 color, and at a 1.2, you're kind of running in about 12 bucks. At a 2.0, you'd be running at 20. So I'm just saying this ratio of services, what you're looking for. And at 2.0, the revenue you would make and the increase in pay you would receive is unbelievable, bigger than a commission jump. The other thing we've done, we've changed our payroll system. We're working with our coaches. I've taken the take-home bonus away and I've added it to the service dollar. And let me explain that, Tina. I want my people to create a take-home culture. If I get a business model with 25 or 30% of take-home, the culture we talk about so often could be made to happen. So we are setting up our minds as we go back to business to really be effective like we've never been before. And I think these numbers are going to correlate. So if you were bringing in $1,500 a week, let's say, and your old commission rate was 40%, I will actually pay you 45 if your indicator's 20% or larger on take home. So I'm making it part of the big number, not the little one, because hairdressers don't get excited by the sale of a bottle of shampoo. We got to give them a different why. But if somebody said, Robert, I want a raise, I said, well, the way you get a raise is by increasing this indicator, this KPI of take home to 20% or above. I'll gladly give you that raise. And it matches out pretty well on paper, depending on your buying power. You know, if obviously you're making margins on products, you know, you want to increase that buying power, and with bigger sales, you could maybe buy more in bulk, get a better discount, take advantage of your sales consultant to get a better deal on stuff you sell a lot of. And this would help make the merry-go-go round. But hairdressers have not been incentivized by a 10% bonus. Because I work for JP, I even offered a 20 and they still didn't hurt me with it. But I think if it's attached to their service dollar, then they're going to see the way they can make the maximum pay scale in my company is by performing. Now, let's just say the other way. You don't do it. I don't care. So I'm only going to pay you 40. I can live with that if you can. But if you want to get to the bigger bracket, then you're going to have to consider these KPIs to be relevant to your pay structure. So we're getting to kind of rethink that, whatever that means to people listening out there. You know, it makes a big difference.
That's incredible. So 25% to 30% RTS, you're going to give potentially a 5% increase in commission.
Yeah.
It's brilliant.
You could do it with other KPIs. I mentioned retention. We don't retain people. Your goal here is to retain clients like my body retains ice cream. You know, you want to keep them. And my wife is a great example of that. She's an incredible performer, sometimes only working with 4 guests a day, average ticket of $320, take home $26 plus. I'm just saying she's a player and she's not doing it on 12 clients deep. So we need to take away the race and start working on the pace. We need to take away the volume from our equation and then see what we can do. And if a price increase is necessary, that's quite fine. And some salons are doing a surcharge, just like hotels have a resort fee. So, you know, they've got a $5 or $10. To me, I'm not so excited by that personally. I don't like hidden charges, just like I don't like them when I check into a hotel. I'd rather build it into the price. So for some of you out there, based on your square footage, you may have to increase the price, and I don't think people are going to be surprised by it. It's the new cost of doing business would be the dialogue. And this is conversations we will have through communications, emails to our guests. So they're not going to get a whammy at the door. And we're not talking about doubling our prices. We're just going to say, what have we slowed down to? What's the new cost of doing business? And reformulate our business plan. And to be quite honest, most of us opened without that business plan in the beginning.
Right.
Like, I did the Kevin Costner, if you build it, they will come. That was my plan. Thank you, Jesus. It's going to be okay. So it's a time to look. I don't care what you didn't know the last time. Now you do know, you have access, you have time to think about it and work with professionals if you have to. You know, just work it backwards. What do you got to do? And, you know, you mentioned an interview I did with Van, and Van's a remarkable salon owner. This is Van Council. He owns Van Michael. His revenues from his 5-6 stores, this will hurt everybody on the call, $100,000 a day. His payroll alone is $300,000 a week. And for him to see a drop in his business when he reopened, he got down to 25,000. So he used to do 100,000 a day at 25. He's now increased to 60,000 a day, still 40 short. So there's been a reduction in his business. So he feels confident it'll go back up to normal. But I'm just saying, if your cost of doing business, if the way you're doing things, especially if you're in a small store, you're limited to how many people you can have in the building. There's restrictions. So I just say on some, it may be a price increase. On some, honor the menu. Discounting without permission is theft. And I just want people to charge what they're supposed to charge and do the right thing by upgrading because it's your job, recommend take home because it's your job, and understand that the benefits of this, the why you get, is going to be very beneficial to the company being more profitable. And just like me working at Paul Mitchell, it helps that I work for a very profitable company because when things get lean, like many salons are going out of business right now, they didn't have that profitability to bank on. And with a culture of 20, 25%, like the McCormick's in Houston, visible changes, they work on that number. They don't make a zero out of service dollar, but they make it off their take-home score at 20%. So if you could run service to a zero, but all your profit was coming from the enjoyment of take-home, that is an incredible motivator as business owners. Anthony Whitaker, great coach. He helped me many years ago. I don't own salons, he told me. I own businesses. So let's make take home part of our business model and make it count and make sure your team honor it. And to the point, if they don't, just like if they're not honoring other systems, you got to let them go. This is a deal breaker here. This is not, I wish you would. This is what we got to do to really make our jobs worthwhile. And I think, you know, coming back, clients are going to be so appreciative. Something Van shared with me, gratuities went through the roof. Gratuities, people were getting $250 tips. So this is a beautiful world we're re-entering in, and we all see that we are appreciated by our guests. We also see we miss them a lot. And I think in the old way we did things, we took them for granted. We didn't take time to know their names. We weren't really listening to their stories. We were just making the donuts. And I think this is what I think is going to change the industry just a tremendous way.
I love that you said you're not going to do a COVID protection fee, because I see that across the whole country. All salons are going to do that. So instead, you're going to build it into the price, the extra cost. How are you going to specifically do that? Do you know yet, or are you still working on that plan?
There's different business models that I own. I know some that we're going to increase the price. I have a salon in Oklahoma City. Their haircuts were $25. That will not be the price moving forward. It's just impossible. Because if they were trying to work on a pace, seeing clients double booking, I can't allow that any further. So the reality is, in certain cases, they won't be able to. Now, let's just say you've got a 7-8 chair salon, you've got 3 stylists working. There is an opportunity to have 2 clients in the building at once.
Right.
Just saying. So, but if you've got 5 staff are working, we're playing with ideas like haircut only days, because the pace is very apples to apples with other haircutters. Maybe a color only day, because the pace of color is a little different, but if you mix the two up, they don't mix real well. So I'm just saying you could have a day where it's all haircut Tuesday. And, you know, that's not a sexy name, Sean. Sorry for that. You know, a color only, because that's the increments of time. The other thing I want people to think about, and it may not hurt you guys out there, but California, we're paying by the hour. I want her to start thinking about hourly time. And like when you go for a massage, do you want a 60-minute massage or a 90-minute massage? That's your choice. So do you want a 1-hour appointment haircut with a treatment, and start selling the stuff you want to see? Have you ever had a hot rock massage? The only reason you got that is to massage with hot rocks. You know, so I start to think that we start to time sell our shares here, so that if somebody's coming in, they're seeing value in a haircut color appointment 2 hours. And for some people, getting a measurement of time is critical. There's people working 6 hours on a color, and the client's leaving with a $120 ticket. If you put that down to dollars per minute, you'd be better off waiting tables at Denny's. We have to reevaluate what your time is worth. And California, which, you know, has changed their compliance rules, has made us very aware of time, because we pay in that, and it's starting to break that commission bubble. Now, maybe we use a commission number to formulate your payroll, but no longer is that word allowed in California law. It's just a basis that we use to formulate what your number would be. So I'm just saying these are incredible system change that can change our industry into very healthy outcomes.
Tina, for us in the salon, just speaking from a hairdresser point of view, is that hairdressers have been very guilty forever, no matter who they work for, of not charging for the services that they're doing. And especially with the social media taking control of everything, and having our guests being so in the know, coming in with those pictures of, here's my picture of this beautiful blonde highlight, but there's 14 steps that go into it and 14 different product applications, but they're still charging only for a highlight. So I think that for us in the salon, what I've learned, and I think that other hairdressers could take a note from this, whether you work for yourself or you work for an owner who's dictating your pricing, is we tend to just kind of say, oh, I'll throw that in for free, or I'll just do a shadow root, or I'll just do that conditioning treatment. And then little by little, you have these like big prices that you charge on paper, but really your average ticket's like $100 per guest. So you're not really charging what you're worth. So I know for us in our salons, what we've noticed when we really like dug in and saw what people were charging compared to what their pricing was, and looking at that service ratio being only 1.2, I'm like, I see what they're doing in the salon. I work right beside everybody. I see them doing 3 and 4 steps. I see people under the dryer, but I don't see it coming out in our bottom line of showing that all those treatments I'm buying, I do inventory, so I know how much I'm paying for treatments, Cara Triplex, Marula mask, lavender mint mask, but I'm not seeing it come back, but I'm seeing it being used. So for us, the biggest increase is going to actually just be from charging our guests the actual price that is associated with the element of the stylist. Yeah. So it's not really like, oh, I was a $50 haircutter, now I'm a $100 haircutter all of a sudden. Just if I haven't raised your prices since, 1976, now's the time to bring everybody up and get everybody on the same page. We have some stylists, one that's worked for Robert for over 25 years, and some of his guests are literally a $35 haircut. I'm like, your haircut's $150. What are you doing? This can't happen anymore. But never before, just because we were so in the grind, did we look at it, and it kind of, a lot of people doing a little bit of stuff kind of came out to a certain number, but it's not the right number.
Yeah, so that's the same challenge we're having too, Mary. So talk to that salon owner. How could they make that happen? So we're getting ready to talk to our salon teams, and we said we're actually going to be giving ourselves a raise because we're going to be charging correctly and not giving the discounts. And I said, are you kidding me? We're still giving discounts? I wasn't even aware of that.
Me either.
As a salon owner, and I freaked out. So I loved what you said. Discounting without permission is theft. Period.
Yeah. No, that seems drastic, Tina, but
it is.
The other thing, we're talking to one of our team members, Junior. No, I'm going to let you finish this.
It's okay. Go
and
ahead.
She said, but what about my client that then needs a shadow route, and she went on to these multiple services. I said, it's funny you said that, because when I look at your ticket, it's not there.
No. Yeah.
So I am eating that as the owner.
Yes.
And that's where the profit is. I hate to say it, going down the drain, because people are, the other thing we took away, and I don't know who started this, we had a change in management. We had a manager for 25 years. So she was holding all these thoughts. So now that Mary and I got into our own business, we discovered some of the things. So we got a new reservation manager, and he was going up there, and up come the stylist with a ticket. He would go to the columns that tell the prices, and the hairdresser would say, oh no, let me get the history. That's just another way of that. Let me look back at what I've been charging this lady. The other thing that somebody started, and I don't know who, free bang trims, neck cleanups, all this stuff. So there's no more free services.
Right.
So we've taken away, we're starting again, we're setting up new rules because we have a new beginning. And I think these are critical. And I just think even we've had these conversations with our staff, and if they've been watching me on the internet and what I've been doing, they know what's coming. And again, I feel that they're committed to it, because we have working mothers that can only work 6 hours in a shift. So if they're limited by their earnings based on this generosity discount, people think that they're friends. There's no friends in the hair industry. It's a business. And if you mess up their hair, you'll find out there's no friendship in this business. It's really what are we charging, what's necessary. The other thing we did that's quite remarkable, that I've resisted for the whole time, we put in a cancellation policy, because these appointments for my heavy hitters are so valuable that if a client takes a 2-hour appointment and doesn't show, that stylist is sitting empty for 2 hours. That is unacceptable. So we put in a 2-way cancellation clause, 24 hours notice, so you'll be charged 50%. And if my stylist cancels on you, we will extend you a 50% discount without the 24-hour notice. This is a game changer. Now people say, well, we're going to make the money and they're not there. That's not the reason. The motivation is to get people in. The other thing, lateness. People can't come in late. I'm going to suggest, just like the airport, that you're in your car 15 minutes before your appointment, so we can notify you when our station is sanitized and ready for you to enter the building. These are all things, because if I got to take your temperature, give you a mask, give you this, sanitize you before you come in the building, this is all going to take time. So you can't come in 10 minutes late, 5 minutes late, and have this procedure. You will be declined, because what will happen is you'll be backing up the next appointment who's following the rules. So these are time to set rules. Getting the team's buy-in on it. So, they're creating a lot of this with us. We're not just coming in with a boss hog telling you this is what you're going to do. They went through the cancellation policy. They're visualizing it. Some of my working mothers, obviously with kids, there could be a flaw in there. So we have a slightly different contract for them, because if one of my kids with a 2-year-old and the kid's got a temperature, they're not going to come to work. So we have a different understanding for those clients, and clients worship these people, but they know why we're putting it into play is to protect this team member. And it's not to gouge the client out of a 50% cost. And I think these are all critical system shifts that will really pay to the bottom line of the business, but more importantly, give the client the reason to come. Not to book 6 appointments and only keep 2 of them. And unfortunately, as a company, we've tolerated this, but now because each segment hour or 2 hours is so valuable, we can no longer work on that premise. And I think we'll see a better return rate. My staff, if they come in split shifts, will be busy the whole time they're there. And I can't say that was always true before, because sometimes they had gaps in the day, cancellations, and nothing kills an energy of a hairdresser than having a cancellation no-show for a 2-3 hour increment. And I just think we've got to be better.
Yeah.
Other businesses do this. I've just resisted for the obvious reason. What if Sean calls in sick? So to me, I'm prepared at this point as owning this company to set this rule. It's a 2-way street. and I'm happy to honor it. It means if you did get drunk last night, Sean, and you don't want to come to work on Saturday, you will pay the 50%, you will work for 50% rate when that client does come in. And I think that's a game changer right there.
So no, Tina, that's powerful. Are you going to keep a credit card on file? How's that process going to look like? Are you going to have them sign a waiver on it? And how's that going to work?
Yeah, so there's a couple of things. The pricing part of it, we emailed, since we're not in contact with in person with our team, we emailed them the menu. And our menu has our 5 elements, including new talent, so that everyone can see, they all know what element they're in, but they can clearly see what their prices are. And we're having them go through and make a mock schedule with their guests that they know, just a handful of guests. And we're also going to send them their guest list so they can start to price it out and see who they're going to have on their schedule when we get to go back, and what the ideal day looks like. Is it 3 highlights and 2 cuts? Is it just 4 highlights with treatments? But they're going to price it out, not looking at history because they don't have the access to that, just off of their element. So that's how we're going into that. We also have emailed communication with our guests, put it up on social media, and we're also doing it over the phones with our reservationists. But the one thing when Robert spoke about, we're suspending all complimentary and discounted services, no exceptions. So that's how we've communicated it to the guests. The reservationist and the management team are going to share that as well. When we start getting back to rescheduling our guests, we're letting them know that when it is time and they give us the okay, or they give us the green light, we're going to call them. We're not going to be able to handle everybody calling the salon trying to get in, because our team took copious notes on the guests that we rescheduled or canceled on March 18th. When we closed on the 17th, they know that Tina Black was supposed to come in on the 18th for a color, a haircut, and a treatment. She prefers to come in the morning, and she likes the beginning of the week. And they also confirm your email. So they're going to go back to those notes and start calling all of those guests so that we can be in control of the flow of the salon. They're also going to communicate with the guests. Tina, Mary's your stylist. She's an element 5, just confirming that this is going to be the cost and this is how long it's going to take. So our team is our reservation team and our management team is starting to work directly with our stylists so that we know, and we have to look at, Robert has sort of started saying, we need to start doing these FaceTime or Instagram video calls with our guests, because Tina, I haven't seen you in 3 months. So be honest with me. Did you color your hair at home? Let me see what you have so I can know. I'm not going to shame you for it. I'm not going to judge you for it, but I want to know what I'm getting into, because your normal 45-minute color application with 45-minute processing and a 45-minute out the door, it might be a little bit more extensive. It might take me an hour and 15 to do your color this time, because I may need to erase some of that old color first. I might have to do a color balance. So I need to know ahead of time how much time it's going to take, because it's not going to be the norm. So that part is going to be really important. We're working on dialogue with our reservation and management team now on how all of that wording is going to go. So it's like a work in progress every day. That was kind of the back on that.
How are you going to do the virtual consultations? Are you going to do it via FaceTime? Are you going to use Zoom? What's your thought process?
For us right now, kind of one of the best ways, we're not against people having, our stylists and clients having phone numbers, but they do contact each other mostly through Instagram. So you can see right there up next to there's like a little video next to my name. So they can do video consultations that way so that there's not an exchange in phone numbers. We also have that Weave app. We have it downloaded on our cell phones. And the cool thing about Weave is that it's a phone system that Robert spoke about. It's a phone system that replaces your like AT&T or whatever else you have going on. I'm sorry, I lost your face. Good God.
I love that. So the phone system, it replaces AT&T. I love that. And you also guys talked about a call center. Is that related to the Weave system, or is that separate?
Well, the call center, anybody can have a call center where you have people maybe in a room or in multiple rooms taking phone calls, and that's all they do. They're taking phone calls. They're having extended call times with the guest. They're spending that time with you to answer all your questions, tell you about our new protocols, and really take that time with you where they're not being distracted to check Robert out. Like, oh, Robert, how was your haircut experience? They're not double doing. They're basically like you are, probably on a headset, just chatting and saying, you know, we're so looking forward to seeing you. How's your family? Everybody's safe. Now let's get into your hair. The other thing, just like the dentist office, those documents that you were asking about. So we have our cancellation policy that the guest is going to need to sign. We have a waiver that they're going to need to sign that's going to alleviate us from the liability should they they get COVID. It's because maybe they came to our salon, they went to the grocery store and did something else, but it's going to release all liability for us. They're going to have to sign that. Through Weave, we also have a wellness form that's just 5 questions that it's like a survey style, so that they don't have to sign that, but they have to answer the questions and email it back. It's basically, have you had a fever in the last 3 days? Have you been out of the country? Have you been around anybody that has COVID? And there's a couple other questions. It's just 5. So we'll have those available. So while I'm on the phone with you, Tina, do you have access to your email? Okay, great. I'm going to send you these 3 documents. I'm going to need you to sign those and send them back to me. And I'll explain them to you also so that you know, so there's not like the pressure, like, oh, I'm signing away my life or anything. So we'll get that on file before we can even get their reservation on the books.
So to your last question, Tina, just to button it up. So Weave does allow me to have a non-credit card transaction. Mevo, our software company, Millennium, also has that. And once it's on file, I have access to that credit card. So we're seeing fewer touch points all the way through the business. We've taken away our assistant program because no longer do I need 3 people shampoo. And I'm actually going to have to do my own shampoos when I go back to work. So I think, again, it's more quality time, less ditching and running, less running behind on the thing. So I'm just saying we're really getting to places, using technology is the key. So for this, our Weave phone system, every phone call that comes in is turned into a text. I told you we're no longer taking walk-ins. So let's say Tina calls and never been to our salon before. On my client's shifts, so we're going to have an A and a B team. They'll work maybe 3 days on, 8-hour shifts, 4 days off, and then follow up with the other weeks. So in a 2-week period, 7 days. So on your day off, Tina, you may get a list of 3 new guests that would love appointments with you. You would be encouraged to do a digital consultation so you know how much time to reserve. So remember, I've always been on reservations and not reception because you want to reserve time with Robert. You want to reserve time with Mary. And I just think this is a new way to do business. So you're not doing it on your day of work, not having cancellations on your consultations, because people say, I'm coming in for a consultation. You'd have 6 on the books, 2 would show. So this is a way you can do it, see if they like you, they like we're saying. The other thing I think Mary said, the calls on the phone, how did you describe them?
Extended call time.
Extended call time. The old way was my reservationist was doing, she was
15 things.
Checking out clients, she was ringing them up, telling Shawnee's guest was here, doing everything. And what an incredible team we had, but not having the touch point on the phone. So as much as I love technology, there's nothing like the sound of the voice. People want to talk about their hair. So instead of saying, I'll put you on a brief hold, I'll be right back with you.
Right.
I am going to be a listening ear, and my reservation call center are going to take that time to go through to upgrade you to treatments. Go, well, you're getting a haircut. Do you want to trim it or treat it today? Or you're getting a color. Do you want to trim or treat it? Suddenly you see an upgrades happen that the reservation call center is helping the stylist be more busy and committed for all the services we sell. So it's a much more effective sales team, if you will. And again, taking that ringing phone out of the business is going to be a beautiful thing. And if we have people in the business that are helping checkout and self-chairside checkout, which is another new reality. So in off-peak times, hairdressers will have to check out their own client. That would include the take-home sale and the future reservation. And one thing I got to say, which client's not going to want to book their next reservation?
Exactly.
Based on the bottleneck we've created. And I think this is critical. And just to go to my buddy Van in Atlanta, 2 people checked into his business with temperatures, and they were declined entry, and they were absolutely fine about it. 1 person wouldn't sign the release, and they did not get entry, and that was fine too. It's just one of those things that we got to really think about the optics of a client and other people in the building, including your team. These are critical points. So think about in your business, walking through like the way State Board used to, of all the different touch points you've got to remove. So we talked about credit cards, bathrooms, sanitization, a kick flusher,
touchless.
Not your tea tree in the bathroom where you're pumping it. It can't be, it has to be touchless. All these things we have to think about. And the more we build these into the business, the safer a client will feel. I think it'll become word of mouth advertising, actually. The stronger you do this, people will talk about you when they're out and about of, I go to this salon, just like they talked about my blow dryers from the ceiling, my color bar. They're going to talk about these things going, oh, the place I go does all these things. And I think that's going to differentiate a lot of salons that are just so eager to get back to what they were doing. And I think the salons that create that new standard are going to become the absolute leaders in their community because they've set up these procedures. And, you know, the people we were talking to before about the red light, green light, they'll be different, just like the airport security. there's different levels that will go back and forth. So you could be sitting at yellow and amber because you passed red because you're open, and it could get in the summertime to green, and then you may find yourself moving back to amber or red throughout the journey of a year.
Right.
So I just think these are the protocols we want to put in. The other thing, you know, in these documents that Mary mentioned, they're pretty sexy, and there's some cartoons involved. They're very graphic, they're colorful. It shouldn't look like a legal form that you're buying a car or something, you know. It cannot be unsexy. It has to be sexy. And I think
Great idea.
think of that. And these also will be reinforced in our windows. So for our big downtown, we're going to put it on the front sign. It'll be there, beautiful, that people can read. So long before they come in the building, they're aware of all these new system changes. And I think when they read them, they're going to have such comfort in their heart that they are going to the right place, and they'll be calling girlfriends and, you know, friends of each other saying, you got to come to the Robert Cromeans Salon, because this is what they're doing to protect you. And I think, you know, it's such a relevant time to show off in a way of how we care for a client. And you know, the sanitization is just a whole new level from, you know, there's so many things that we're looking at that when I walk through it first, I'm like, oh my goodness, this is like magazines, coffee cups. So these are good news. We don't need to subscribe to magazines anymore because nobody's going to pick it up. I ripped out my waiting room, and I'm going to sell the furniture to create a little fund towards my new vision of take home. We took away coffee cups, and we were quite labor intensive on the French press and all the fancies, the cucumber water. Well, for at least the amber light as we go back in, we will not be doing those things any longer. And we're moving assistants out of their role, but we're actually bringing in a cleaner. So we've already had her in the business, so she will help sanitize when a stylist can't. So a station will have a red and green card. If it's red, it's been used. It can't be reused until the green is on. And they will help us on these new things. Sanitary, we've had to order 3-4 times more round brushes, because sometimes you'll see on a busy day, people are running for a color bowl, a schmuck. We now have to put enough in. We also do this trick with saran wrap. Once it's sanitized, we rewrap it, goes in a drawer, so a closed container. So when I bring that out and I open it up, client feels like they opened an iPhone. You know, that's what we got to get to. And I'll be honest with you, some people say, oh, it's a clean brush. What's clean about it? You scrape somebody else's hair out of it and that makes it clean? Heck no. This is a whole new way to think. And these things all become points that clients see that get excited by. I go to a salon, and every time they use a brush, it comes out. You know, I used to coach the salon, and they said, yeah, we have all the files on our clients. They're a nail salon. And I said, oh, that's good. You keep records. She said, no, I have their own nail file. So when I come in, I lift out Tina's nail file. That's and think about what that does to a client. Oh, when I go to get my nails done, they have a file just for me. These are the types of things, just like Color Bar, they're conceptual, and they become in a way advertisement, if you will. If you market them right, I can see as when we go through our new walkthrough and show our space, clients are going to come to us for the very first time based on this once they see the measures we put into play. And whatever way you want to interpret that in your salon, in your neighborhood, I'm just saying this is going to, people will be paranoid about this for a long time. People still look up to the sky at 9/11. You know, they still are paranoid about terrorism. This will not go away. It will not be short-lived, even though we thought so when we started. California is telling us June or July, they're telling us right now. So we had, before we closed, somebody sneezed in the salon, was coughing a lot. All the clients, when she went to the bathroom, you know, turned on her and said, we got to get that lady out of here. So I'm just saying, it's not just how I feel.
We had to make her leave.
We had to make her leave with half a highlight, you know. So I'm just saying, these are all new normals. And because it's a thing that the government are, you know, a lot of this has happened. It's not a decision I made. I got a Mr. Clean bug up my bum and I'm running in to do all these things. The government's setting compliance. So your first measure is not coming from me. It's coming from whatever your governor tells you, whatever your state requires. The next level is then to be creative. And how could I take that further? Just like I took Color Bar further, take home. How can I interpret it even higher? And I think these are going to be things you're going to see. The same at Paul Mitchell. I know, look at Jacob Ellis, our president. He said, whatever the government said, we're going to go, you know, 100% beyond that to make every employee of our company feel absolutely safe. And I think this is a beautiful way to reimagine our businesses from every point. And again, I've ripped out the waiting room. So now I have all this real estate to play with. So I'm going to up the take home stuff. I'm going to create more merchandising. We're playing with different concepts, but the idea here is you can look, but you can't take it. You need something, Robert will get that for you. So they're not going through and touching stuff, but we are looking technologies like UV lighting on every station. There's a machine that goes through your air conditioning that instead of taking air and
ozone generator.
Yes, ozone. These are all things that we're putting into play that I think, again, the client's going to feel safer than the supermarket. And our supermarket in San Diego was just closed last week because of coronavirus.
Wow.
And my son was giving me a little brief of these measures. You know, Reed works in the company. And he said, you know, I think you're going a bit far. And I said, listen, I see you at the supermarket all the time. And when it got closed down, I said, see, I told you. You know, Home Depot's got lines of people. I went there to get something the other day to go research some partitions I'm making. And there was so many people waiting in line. My mind said, I'm not going to go wait in that line. I don't want to be that close to these people.
No.
And I'm not paranoid about many things. Most of the time when I'm in line, people move away from me anyway. So I'm used to this distancing.
Except for Mary.
I'm used to this distancing. But I'm just saying, this is what we got to do. This is why I'm so excited about the changes, that we've had the pause to reset our business. And through that, just having a minute to breathe about it, we can reimagine it. And again, aligning the team to this, not just bossing them up, getting the team's engagement, so like we did on the cancellation clause. But they are absolutely see it. And again, it's not a decision I made. The government's helped on this. The situation of coronavirus has helped on this. So it's a perfect time to change systems. And, you know, as you can tell, I get pretty excited by it.
I am too. Talk about, are you guys all going to wear gloves for the whole procedure? Are you wearing one mask the whole day? Or are you going to change them out? What's your process going to be on that?
So right now, what we've decided on is we are going to wear one mask all day, but not take it off. I've ordered some of the higher quality, like N95 masks. I don't know when they're going to arrive, but we're going to provide those for our team. We're also looking into the possibility that we may have to provide two, because you have to wash them at night in, you know, really hot water and dry them. And they have the replaceable charcoal filters inside. So we're going to have those for our team. As of right now, we're saying yes to the gloves for the whole procedure. And if, you know, even wearing gloves right now, sometimes mine rip, which they never used to rip when I was doing color, but just doing like going to the grocery store and things like that, or getting gas, I'm like, oh my gosh, my gloves are ripping. So if they rip, of course you have to change them and take them off properly. You can't just like, you know, there's a certain way to remove your gloves, like the way they do in a hospital, but it's one pair of gloves per guest. So I had heard other people saying like, oh yeah, a pair of gloves all day. And like that totally defeats the purpose. You know, it's almost, you have to be really extra careful with the gloves, because I think people think, oh, it's gloves. And then they touch their face and they're touching more because they think they're protected, but it's like you've touched 55 other things. So we'll have one mask for them. Our guests are going to be required to wear a mask coming in, but then they'll swap it out for a disposable mask that we'll provide. Because when we're doing color, I don't want to get 6N on their mask that is fabric. And then when I shampoo them, I don't want them to, you know, if they take the mask off, well, then that's one thing. And then if they keep the mask on, you know, am I getting the color out around their ears, and then their mask is soaking wet, then they're going home with that. You know, that's kind of not great. So we'll swap out masks, and they'll get the disposable mask so they can keep it on the whole time while they're in the salon. We were talking yesterday about like different trash receptacles, because we're going to have something like, I guess as they're leaving the building, it's going to have to be by the door, and different closed covered bins for them to take off their mask properly, you know, making sure that comes off the right way, and then that gets thrown away. And it may even be that it has to be outside the salon, like right when they leave the door.
Be outside. So just like a surgeon comes out.
Good idea.
Comes off as the garment. So we're looking at disposable capes. Now, if you're not going to do disposable, order up 3 times more, because you're going to have to launder. So you can't be waiting on one. I know when I first started these conversations a few weeks ago, somebody said, I'm going to start washing my capes once a day. I'm like,
I know, we do ours after every guest, no matter what. So we already had that protocol. But the other aspect too is
the Sanic strip.
Yeah, the Sanic strip. I am guilty, because we wash our stuff after every guest. I don't always do the Sanic strip.
Right.
And I was saying to Robert, you know, our friend Fern the barber, he grew up through the Paul Mitchell schools. He's, you know, is a teacher with them, learning leader. And even at a hair show, he always uses his Sanic strip, always. And so I was like, oh my gosh, like we have to just, even though if we're using our capes that we've washed and they're totally clean, we still need to put that Sanic strip, because it is just a barrier between their skin and the cape, you know, regardless, just to make them feel more safe and to have that added sanitation level. So
one thing you did on your Facebook or Instagram, she did a doll head at home with her mask on, just to get used to.
I saw that.
Ooh.
We're also going to be wearing visors. And again,
Visors too?
Yeah,
Yeah.
let's go back to the red, yellow, green. In a green world, maybe the visor is not necessarily just the mask. But in the yellow world, the visor is going to be critical. So we're providing this to all our staff. And again, that's the measurement to protect each of them. We talked about the A/B shifts of it, the extended hours. So if you were typically open 10 to 6 or whatever, that was never good hours to begin with. Where would Nordstrom be if they opened at 10 to 6?
Yeah.
You've got to open it up, be early bird and late bird. So if you need a shift to happen between staff, some of your working mothers perhaps, you can create a split shift. We're going to encourage some people to take 8-hour shifts, so working right the way through on fewer days. So it could be a 3-day week, 8 hours, and maybe the alternating week, 4 days. And
I love
will
that.
help you catch every other Saturday, which I also like. People get into habits. Oh, I never work Saturdays. I stopped working Saturdays. Well, your client's off on a Saturday, you knucklehead. So what you're telling me when you say I don't go past 4 o'clock, you're telling me when your clients are off work that you're not available. That's what you're telling me. So I just think this is, again, to me, what I'll get out of my business is more consistent daily numbers, and my staff will get more consistent paychecks instead of the ebbs and flows that we used to see in the business. And I think these are really remarkable. So from the safety measures, whether it's stuff you launder, you better get in more of it because you're going to not be able to wait for it or get a dirty one. If it's disposable stuff, which we're going to look at, then that's another cost that you want to factor on. Again, if you're building up your price point and saying, well, what is the new cost of doing business? But for us, I think comfortably on our average ticket, if the potential is $250, I think we can make that happen without the guest having to bear it. That'll be different on every business model that's out there, but definitely a new sort of behavior pattern and a new cost. And again, a new relativity to time. If I'm the person that has to wipe down that station with barbicide and all these different things, then again, I'm going to have to allow that in the time. If I used to be a 45-minute haircutter, it's going to take me time to sanitize my brushes. And again, we're talking about UV light, things that really get it clean before they're put back into general population. And what we do is a little saran wrap. And I'll be honest, a lot of this goes against our planetary points of view, Paul Mitchell. But what, to me, I have to think about is, the planet is definitely recovering right now in so many ways. We've had a beautiful, spectacular thing here in Senegal. We live on the beach, and it lights up blue at night because the plankton in the ocean is unbelievable.
Yeah.
So there's been thousands of people, like it's the World Fair, going down to the beach at 10 o'clock, 11 o'clock at night. But, whatever you've got to do here is to understand that these new times that it takes to do certain things, whether it's sanitary, especially if you're a small salon and maybe you can't afford a cleaner, or maybe you thought you couldn't. And if you say, well, I'm going to bring a cleaner in so every station is clean every time and clients see that, I would say that's the cost of doing business. You would add that in. And whether you did a surcharge or whatever way you wanted to do it, I would just say build it into the new price. Kind of like airlines did this years ago. They had a terrible economy. Gasoline went through the roof. They started doing clever little things, charging you for your baggage, taking away all the luxuries they had. Now when you got lunch, you had to pay for it. And then when things recovered, they kept these things in play. So they became the most profitable before this than they ever have been based on these things. So I think it's really there. And the other thing I want my hairdresser colleagues to realize, when you're in demand, things can change from a price point of view. Anything that's cost a lot, if it's a trip to Hawaii, it's a different price in January as it is to August. In demand things are definitely a commodity, and we have to think about that. So if you're a busy stylist that used to be booked 6 weeks in advance, you were ready for an increase. The way I see it, almost every stylist will be booked 6 weeks in advance moving forward. So let's just make sure, do a little checkup on your pricing, whatever that is. And it could just be a $5 increase. It could be 10, just depending. But again, take full advantage of the menu. And I think that'll compensate for a lot of it and compensate for the client's time. And I think they're going to see more value. Fewer clients, more meaning to me. And I'm really with that client throughout the whole experience. And I think that's going to be a game changer for what we've been doing as business people. We can't help but rack and pack, double book, triple book. And I just think that's probably hurt our industry because people get burned out. They start to not like people. So I think we're going to be nicer. I also think you're going to get lunch. I think you're going to have breaks. So that visor and everything while you're in the business, just like Mickey Mouse, while he's on property, he's wearing it. It doesn't come off when I'm in the break room. It doesn't come off because my client left. These are things that have to be upheld the whole time. And these are rules that would need to be set and understood with your team when we align to it. And the other thing I want to make clear, we're having a soft opening, which will mean 3 days or 4 days before our business ever starts. Every team member will be coming in. Maybe they'll do friends and family, each other, but we are going to try on these new protocols. We're going to try on these new sanitary systems. We'll try our new increments of time and how we work, and just see that it works long before. Just like I'd rehearse a show, just like I would rehearse anything. This is what it takes, is to rehearse to get ready. When a hotel or a bar opens, or a restaurant, if they're smart, they're going to do a soft opening where they get to try out these new systems. Do not expect to go back to work and try them on, because you're going to not get it right. Better to rehearse that without the guest having visibility, so when you do open, whatever that means to you, that you are ready and you've got these new systems, you've tried them on like a brand new outfit, you know you're looking good. And again, a client's going to really appreciate the things. And you know, we've been calling clients personally. They're very excited. All they care about is our safety. They're not worried about their hair. You know, we haven't done any home color kits yet. And you know, California, if they go to July, you know, we got an issue right now in California because they went so far out. My Oklahoma City salon is open. They've been told they can open May 1st. They're right now going through protocols. They may get open May 7, 8, 10, but California seems far behind that. So I'm not quite sure how we're going to do this, because clients are very, you know, eager, and we are working on solutions right now, but I don't have the answer. But our first instinct was not to run out selling color kits, because if you just closed a week and you've got half your clients needing color, you sucked as a service provider. You sucked at reservations, because you weren't upgrading, you weren't taking care of business, you weren't getting the traffic in the business. So these are all things that we want to look at. And we have all the evidence from before we close. We have the numbers to prove this stuff. So it's not just a feeling Bob has, it's an absolute no. And I think Brian can help some on this from a disclaimer point of view, whatever it is we've got to do to protect our business. So if you are doing color kits, I'm not judging you. I would just say, make sure you have an appropriate release to protect your business and liabilities, because just like people run around the world looking for, you know, salons that aren't compliant for wheelchair accessibility. After this epidemic, there will be attorneys like Brian looking for businesses that haven't done the necessary protocols to protect people, and there will be lawsuits when the courts reopen. So there's things to think about.
So, pardon me for one moment, Robert, if I may, and Tina, Sean, I'm so sorry. I'm going to excuse myself because we have a weekly Zoom meeting with our team every Monday at 10 o'clock. And I didn't bump it because I'm trying to keep consistency with all of them. So if it's okay, I'm going to excuse myself.
Thank you, Mary.
My very wonderful husband. Thank you for allowing me to be in on this.
I'll bring you in here. This is Mary right here. We're going to bring
Thank
Mary
you so much.
Oh, there she is.
Thank you, Mary.
She's still here. I love it.
She has a stand-in.
She's so cute. I love it. I love when you're talking about lunch breaks, because before this whole crisis happened, I asked one of my team members, I said, how come you guys never book yourself out to take a lunch? And she's like, I don't know. We just never do. And so now I'm thinking, well, maybe this is an opportunity that our team can actually book themselves out and leave the building, because I don't feel comfortable with food being in the back room. And I feel like we could just get rid of our broke rooms now, you know, through this process.
You think about a hairdresser, and we can all relate to this. The first client we ever had when we got out of school, we spent all day with that lady. We did everything for her. I think we got to get back to that. We don't need 200, you know, Terry, my coach, said to the old days, 200 guests, loyal guests. I think if you really look at what we're talking about, it's understanding the lifestyle you've enjoyed during quarantine, spending time with your kids, your family, and all the things, and starting to find a perfect balance. People couldn't do that, because they just kept saying, yeah, I'll come work, I'll get in there. It's slowing it down. And I do believe this, a hairdresser with lunch is going to be a nicer hairdresser when they come back to work. Because when a hairdresser gets hungry, my wife is left right now, when she gets hungry,
hangry. She gets hangry.
I got to feed this girl. That was the first thing I learned when we started courting. She needs to be fed. Like she's got, you know, just one of those things. So I just think if we slow down, we'll be nicer, we'll be sweeter, we'll be more subservient. To me, being a hairdresser is not about the angles, not about rainbow hair. It's about being a servant. You know, it's a servant's heart. And I do that really well. I know I work on stage and people see me do crazy things with models. I pay those girls. In the salon, a client pays me, I take care of. My favorite client's name's Trudy. We took her over a few months ago to a ring light to take her picture. And she said to me, Robert, nobody ever takes my picture. This is about the heart and soul of the business. And hairdressers, if you're listening to me, if you really love the industry, the way you show it is really by spending time with clients, and also tell your face if you really love it. And I think why we look like we've got that face on is because we're so booked. We're so rushing to get to the next one. We're failing on the last one. And I just think this is where the reset will really make a difference. So not only do I want you to reimagine your business, I want you to plot it out like you're staging the perfect day. Write it down, if you will. What is my perfect day as a stylist? It's seeing Tina, it's seeing this, seeing that, and start to visualize it. And by writing it down, what an ideal day is for you, it will materialize like an ad on eHarmony. You know, I'm looking for a non-smoker who doesn't swear as much as Robert Cromeans. Put all these things in your date list and you will see that person come into your life. Then when you make an ad, don't just help wanted. Nobody needs help. What exactly are you looking for? Are they driven? Are they team players? Are they this? Put it in your ad and that's what you'll get. Start to visualize like you're profiling for the FBI. What does my ideal client look like? Is she chemically dependent on me? Does she like to change her hair often? Does she hate to blow dry it? These are all things that I want to find out from a client. And if I start to build that in my mind's eye, and I know you guys are serious about goal setting and writing things down, hairdressers, it's not the goal about having a car or vacation. What is a perfect day to you? And if you can visualize that and write it down articulately, I think your reservation team can make that happen for you. And I think it's a whole new world. And again, the call center's been in my head for years. Van uses it, Studio B, and I couldn't make it happen. The thing I'm so excited about, things that even Robert Cromeans couldn't make happen. All my staff wanted to work all at the same time. And now because of the beautiful government stepping in to help me and a bit of Jesus, I'm able to regulate how many people are in the building. So I have a business open 7 days a week from this time in the morning to this time of night. That's going to create a much better business model and compensate for the restrictions we had, because the restrictions of the past with the old system, we weren't succeeding with them. So let's just be honest about it. So the old world is not something we're going to miss, but the new world, if we treat it right and we put these things in play, is going to show up in a whole different way. Happier hairdressers making the compensation they deserve, clients getting the service, because no client's ever told me I cost too much. I charge $200 a haircut. My son was assisting me for a while. He said, Dad, I can take a picture of you during the service with each guest, and they're lit up the whole time. The best Robert Cromeans there is not the one you see at Caper, not the one you see on stage. It's the one you see behind a chair with a paying guest. I am a servant to their needs. I am the listening ear. I did a thing for a salon group last week called Lifestyles. They've got 1,700 hairdressers. They work on old age pensioners. Some of them have dementia. So I got to share my stories. One of my favorite clients is Hillary. She's 92. She still kickboxes. She plays tennis. She's got Alzheimer's, which means when I'm cutting her hair, she's shaking around. The first time I did her hair, I cut my finger. But the way I handle this lady is unbelievable. And I'm just saying that's what it is that we do for a living. It's not about angles or trends. It's about the people with a heart and soul. If you're anything like me, my clients don't look like the models I do on stage, but I make them feel that way. Everybody's got beauty in them. And I think what people really want is a conversation. They want to feel like they're welcome. And I know because some of them, they don't get kind words from their husband. They don't get kind words from their family. To me, this is the place where we really got to spread love and joy. And, you know, most people are surprised when they hear that conversation. I know you guys aren't, because you know where I am. I'm a misdirection. I look like one thing, but I'm probably the nicest guy in the world. And I care about how a client feels more than anybody else. And I think these improvements we're making on the business, if people think you cost too much, you suck a lot. That's really I don't care if you're $15. If people say, well, that's expensive. Maybe your shampoo could be freshened up. Maybe it's your dialogue. Maybe it's your consultation. When people say it costs too much, you didn't deliver what was necessary. If you start to understand that a higher price may make you deliver better, because if I said to you right now, double your $15 to $30, you'd get more dressed up going to work. You'd be thinking about all the things, because I'm now getting 30 when I used to get 15. Yeah. That psychological thing has helped me grow from a $25 haircutter to $200. What comes along with that? And for everybody listening to this, what does that mean to you? Is it a breath mint? Is it a way that you welcome at the door? And again, Japanese cultures don't touch and don't shake hands and don't hug. So hugging and, shaking hands, all this stuff is going to change. And that is a tough habit to break. You're so used to see, how you doing, stranger? Like, oh no.
Don't touch me.
It's like one of those, like when people go for the high five and you pull away, but and go to Japan, they bow. So Mary and I went to Puerto Vallarta. I know you guys go down there a lot. We went to this beautiful hotel, probably a 5-star experience, with some days where you learn some good tricks. And everybody that worked in the place, whenever they would pass us, Tina, would cover their heart and bow. So instead of, you know, they just would bow everywhere you go. So if it was a chambermaid, somebody cleaning the rooms, somebody taking room service, everywhere you go, they would just stop and bow. I think we got to come up with things like that. That people see that we're still loving them, but we're not doing the human engagement thing. And I think we'll be fine to work ahead with gloves on, which will take a bit of practice. But again, these are procedures that I think will give the optics to a client that make them feel more safe in your business than they do in an average supermarket.
Yeah. I love it. This is powerful. Thank you so much, Robert and Mary, for being on today. We cannot thank you enough, and we appreciate your incredible brilliance
as always. What I'd love to do for your listeners, I'm going to send you over the releases that we have and the letters that we've sent out, and feel free to get them out to your people, because and let them be free to rip off whatever they want, because that's how it started with me and other folks. So, you know, from a release that they come in and the types of words we're using, the way we're communicating, I wanted the industry always, and I think you guys know that, to have common knowledge. So this is a great time for us to share our knowledge.
Yes.
And the fact that I'm lucky enough to be Robert Cromeans, that I get to talk to incredible people that really know what they're doing in so many levels. You know, I'm doing something today with Hairbrain, doing a live, you know, Instagram live. People like Van. One of the ladies in my neighborhood, her name is Carrie Davis. I don't know if you've ever come across this lady. She's a business coach. She has a salon up the street. They don't carry Paul Mitchell. So these are barriers that are coming down everywhere. It's not just Paul Mitchell people we're trying to help.
Right.
I invented the color bar, and, you know, somebody said, how do you feel? Everybody ripped that off. I feel the same way Vidal felt when he invented precision hair cutting. Visionaries don't care. We don't care. We just know we improve the industry, and everybody wants to use take-home color bar. I don't care. I get so excited when I walk into the school. Remember years ago, I went into your school. It just opened with Brian.
Yep.
Seen the color bar, and I said, oh my God. I seen the wash house. I said, oh my goodness. And he says, why are you so excited by this? I said, this stuff came out of my little head. You know, it's about sharing it, and I don't care I get credit for it or not. That was never my motivation. So we'll send you some of the documents we're using. Again, feel free to interpret it, change the name from Robert Cromeans Salon to your name. Have every permission to do so, because that's probably where I got it too. So remember what I said, research is what we're doing. We're researching the best salons in the world. And as we see countries like our partners in Italy, already in China, we're the first to show the temperature thing. And we thought that'll never happen here. Well, it is absolutely a fact that this is how it's going to be. And I really believe this, the light will turn green. And all I want for everybody listening to this, and everybody in the salon business, barbers, beauticians, estheticians, is you to be ready for that new behavior. You get a chance to change your habit cycle. It takes 21 days to create a habit. You've had enough time to break the old because you've been closed long enough. As you move in, it will not be business as usual. It'll be a new normal that will benefit your guests, benefit you, benefit the profit of your salon. And I think that is a game changer for the industry, which I look forward to so much.
Yeah, I agree, Robert. I'm really excited about this new venture that we're going on for sure. So thank you for leading the way as always. So we'll keep listening to you and your ideas. So thank you.
Thank you, guys. Thanks, Tina. Thanks, Sean. Appreciate it.
Thank you, Robert. Thank you, Mary.
Thanks everyone for joining us.